Balance. You got to balance your coverage of the game. And when that comes to the presidential race, of course it matters who's going to be on the right. Will it be Trump? Will it be one of these other 3,000 people? But there are just as many challenges on the incumbent side. You know, this weekend, President Biden held his first reelection rally in Philadelphia, and he was talking the economy, and he's smart to do that because for all the noise in the media, and me included, the stuff that we talk about, it is nowhere on the list of main issues for people who are actually going to vote. You worry about the economy. You worry about leadership. You worry about safety. This is not new. So then why don't we talk about it all the time? Because this other stuff is more interesting in the moment. So where is Biden sitting right now? 39% approve his handling on the economy. Now, by the way, that's up 7 points. And that's with him doing, in my estimation, subject to being checked by a much better mind in a moment, a lousy job of selling almost a full year of recovery from the level of inflation that came in with him. Let's bring in NewsNation political editor Chris Stirewalt. So, my young brother, you have the what he's up against and who he's up against. Let's deal with the what here primarily. When you look at his poll numbers, 43%, I mean, that puts him pretty much where a lot of these guys are while they're in office. But what do you see in terms of statistical or just subjective analysis of what Joe Biden's up against other than age and stage?
Well, look, if it were not for the age question, and I know it's not possible to do, but you can very clearly see in this poll and in other polls, if you pull the age component out, Biden looks like a pretty robust, a strong candidate for reelection. Remember, it's very tough to beat an incumbent president. Donald Trump, who had coronavirus, had serious concerns about that, all of those things, he came very close to winning a second term, despite lower approval ratings than these in some cases. It's tough to beat an incumbent president. For Biden, the dissatisfaction that many Democrats feel about what he's been able to do and what his possibilities are, when you marry that up with concerns about his age and fitness for office among independent voters, that is a recipe for low approval ratings.
Now, on the who side, the headline that is being foisted upon us is RFK won't go away. But is it really the truth that this isn't a Democrat test for Biden? That RFK is basically a proxy for the right and maybe even the fringe right, who's just Democrat in name. When you look at the polls, he's getting about 14, 15% of who Democrats say they would vote for. How real is he? How likely is it that he plays to what his uncle did and makes it to the convention and gives Biden a hard time?
Look, you don't rule anything out, and certainly Biden is trying to a tough flex by we're not going to play in New Hampshire, which leaves him open to the possibility. The same thing that RFK's father exploited against Lyndon Johnson in 1968. So certainly there's some ways here for him to get in the race and cause some problems. And I don't want to pretend that there aren't any Democrats, especially of sort of the Bernie Sanders variety, that aren't drawn to sort of an anti-establishment, an angry populist outside message who's frustrated with the way things are. It's not saying there aren't any Democrats, but I think you have hit it exactly right. The place where I see Kennedy having room to grow is actually among Republicans and among MAGA Republicans, populist left and populist right, but particularly for older voters who are disaffected and frustrated and prone to think that there is a conspiracy arrayed against them. He is that candidate. And what I would love to know is how would he poll if he were running as a Republican, number one, and number two, in a three-way race with Donald Trump and Joe Biden, if RFK Jr. were running as an independent, how would he poll there?
It's really interesting. He's the first Kennedy I've seen run for office where you don't see any other Kennedys around him. That's very unusual in that family. And his name is a lot of luster. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That is a storied family, maybe the most storied family in American political history. Chris Stirewalt, thank you very much. I'll just end on this note. To this point in the race, the biggest problems Biden faces are of his own making. He's got to tell the story or he will allow his story to be told for him, and that's never good in politics. Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.